Hello, everyone, and welcome to Meet the Comedy series. Today, we're excited to have Alvin Birdi, Professor of Economics Education and Associate Pro Vice Chancellor for Education Innovation at the University of Bristol. Alvin, thank you for joining us today.
You're welcome. Nice to be here.
Could you briefly introduce yourself, your teaching areas of interest, what made you want to join the EEA Education Committee, as well as a fun fact about yourself?
Well, you've already kind of introduced me in terms of what I do. One other thing I do, which I guess is important here, is I'm director of the Economics Network in the UK, and the Economics Network is an organisation which tries to promote good teaching practice across the UK and increasingly abroad. So it has interactions with the subject matter of the EEA committee. So the reason I wanted to get involved with the EEA really was just because I'm interested in this kind of work and spreading good pedagogy, good practice, conferences, and so on, in these sorts of areas. So I was invited to join by the previous chair, but it's really because I'm interested in building networks and sharing ideas. I think teaching is becoming more and more specialized as a sort of topic, and people are talking about it more. So it's an opportunity for me to kind of try and do that work across Europe as opposed to just within the UK. Fun facts are really difficult because what's fun for one person's not necessarily fun for another. But I guess the only thing I can think of is the fact that which might be slightly unusual, is I make furniture. I'm a furniture maker in my spare time, out of wood, and I listen to atonal jazz while I'm making furniture. That's fun for me.
This is really interesting indeed. Thank you for sharing this. Now, our next question is, what do you think the value of the Education Committee is?
So one of the important items of value for the existence of the committee, I think, is that it puts education into the heart of the work of the European Economic Association. So, the EEA is an important kind of intellectual body for economists throughout Europe, just like the Royal Economic Society is in the UK, for example. And for an organization like that to be putting education at the heart of its work, I think, sends an important signal about the importance of teaching, as well as all of the great activity economists do in the research areas, and it sort of stops, I think, teaching and education becoming too niche a subject that people don't really think of, that there's just a few people that think about it and other people don't think about it that much. So I guess it makes education more mainstream across Europe, and that's got to be a good thing.
Yes, definitely. And still on the topic of economics education, what do you think the biggest challenge right now is in economics education? And how do you think the Education Committee what do you think the Education Committee can do to solve this challenge?
Right. So there's lots. So if I have to pick one, I think one of the big challenges of economics education, I mean, obviously there's the obvious one at the moment, which is moving online and doing a lot of things in a socially distanced way. But I'll just steer away from that for a moment, because I think there's a more fundamental thing, really, which is about how we get across to students that economics is a set of tools that you can use to find out things about the world meaningfully, rather than a set of models which try and represent how the world works. And I think sometimes, in our teaching, students sometimes think of what we're teaching them as a set of models that they need to sort of memorize to understand how the world functions. And actually trying to teach in a way which gets students to think about these as just a load of different sorts of tools that you can put together in different ways, and you have to be fairly creative and inventive about how you use them and where you use them and which ones you select. That kind of more active aspect of education, I think, is the real challenge, really, because economics can be pretty useful subject, but I think but this is the responsibility, I think, of education, is to get that point across to students, that this is something they need to do something with, rather than just assimilate.
Yes, definitely. I also think it's very important for students to understand how they can explain the world around them with what
Yeah.
they learn. And so, what is one inspiring aspect you have observed in economics education in the last 5 years?
Well, there's actually quite a lot, really. I mean, I'm always surprised about how many people there are, and one of the really nice things about being on a committee like this, and also doing the job in the Economics Network, is how many people you meet who are really strongly dedicated to creating some excellent sort of teaching resources and doing a really good job in teaching. And actually, we've seen that over the last year as well, where people have been really challenged in terms of what they can do with teaching, and they've done some amazing work. And what are the really inspiring things? I think it's the creativity, really, that a lot of people in economics come up with in terms of educating. So, there's been some great work in using games and experiments in the classroom. And actually, some of these in the European Economic Association, we've even done sessions at the conference showcasing some of this work. But some really good work going on in flipping the classroom, games and experiments, getting students to do research in the community, getting students to sort of make videos and things like that. So I think what the most inspiring thing is really just the creativity that there already is out there. Yeah.
Great. Thank you so much for this. These were all our questions for today. So thank you so much for your answers, and thank you for joining us today.
Thank you. You're welcome.